Then let's move on to the Liberty Dream matchup, which was the one-seeded New York Liberty versus the eight-seeded Atlanta Dream. So there were 2 games in this series, only 2 games. The Liberty, kind of packed them up. I actually wanna start our discussion with game 2 because of this upcoming matchup with the Aces. I think that unlike game 1, in game 2, the Dream really forced the Liberty to get it out of the mud. They were much better defensively, both in the half court and transition, and they were playing very physical, and the Liberty weren't able to get anything comfortable, both on ball and off ball. It was difficult to get open. Atlanta ended up going, quite a bit smaller for large stretches of this game, and I thought that, I found it interesting that you think it's gonna be Leonie Fiebich who has, the most important role guarding the Aces backcourt, because I think that she had a tougher time containing the smaller Atlanta guards at the point of attack, especially Jordan Canada, who, she is what she is. But her off-ball impact remained. Because Atlanta went a little bit smaller, but we're still able to maintain a high level of physicality defensively, the Liberty were able to they had an advantage on the size, especially in the front court, but also Sabrina because they play a little bit bigger in their starting lineup now with Courtney Vandersloot coming off of the bench, and they were able to work hard to get easy shots. I thought that Sabrina was incredibly physical on her drives, just whenever someone went over the screen, getting them on her hip and just getting downhill and trying to create, the shot that was closest to the basket as possible. Obviously, she made some like spectacular threes in this game as well, but I thought that she wasn't settling as much as she sometimes does on these drives in this game, and I thought that was huge. Um, my question, though, actually has more to do with Sabrina on the defensive end in this game because, I mean, she was spectacular scoring, but I felt like it was just about every other possession that her or Leonie were getting, mostly Sabrina really, were getting lost off ball or blown by, or blown by one of the, smaller guards, on the Dream, especially Jordan Canada, but also Alicia Gray. And that was really concerning to me, and the whole time I'm watching this game, I'm thinking, "Man, this scoring game is really great from Sabrina, so efficient, the shots that she's creating are great, the finishes that she's getting in the paint are great." But I didn't like what I was seeing from her defensively. Argue with me about that.
Well, I think the thing is the key for the Liberty, and the one way you can get the New York Liberty's defense is dribble penetration, one on one. Beat them off the bounce, force them to rotate. You can get them in rotation; they're good. The flip side is sometimes the people that are rotating are very good at defense because it's Brianna Stewart and it's
Mhm.
Benigel Laney Hamilton, it's
Yeah.
Jonquel Jones. There's a trust there. So there's a lot of times where Sabrina may get beat off the bounce, but she's funneling it. Like
Yeah.
there were
Yeah.
plays in that game where, okay,
Yeah.
I got beat. I'm not pursuing it anymore because I got beat, and y'all know I got beat. Someone's got me, right? And they usually do. They usually have someone in the paint. Now you don't want to live with that all the time,
Right.
but this is where Brianna Stewart's so good because there were plays in that game, especially early. I think it was Alicia Gray caught at the top of the key, and the whole left side was open, and you could see Alicia Gray was about to drive left, and Brianna Stewart saw it and actually was like, "No, I'm going to stand right here at the elbow for a quick moment and let you know you're not going this way," and then she got back out. So little plays like that help the Liberty. It's just how much can Sabrina stay solid and do her job, and it just can't be in every drive occurrence, which is what
Right.
it can't be every single time. It has to be activity. It has to be keep it in front, contest. You mix those in, and then you live with some of the blow-bys at times. I think the thing for me with Phoebish is more the whistle. What is the whistle going to
Yeah.
be like for
Yeah.
her? Because it hasn't always been the most kind. And so if she gets in foul trouble, how much does that alter what you want to do and alter some of the versatility that you have lineup wise? But I think that's the Liberty's whole idea to improve this year was to have more length, more versatility to surround it around Sabrina so that, okay, we know what this is defensively, but we have more around it to insulate it to a degree. As opposed to last year, it was like, we need scoring, so I have to put two of these guards out here at the same time. And now we have to worry about two of these. You know what I mean? They've kind of changed that up a little bit.
Yeah. Speaking of Leonie Fiebich, I did want to talk a little bit about her game one and then get into a little bit of a broader discussion about the WNBA. She started, obviously, in both of the first two games for the Liberty with Courtney Vandersloot coming off of the bench. In game one, she had 21 points, incredibly efficient, a lot of them on threes, great play finisher, and she's also like a good connector within that Liberty offense. And, she's a rookie. The Liberty were able to, sign her from overseas. And this has been an ongoing like theme or discussion in the media that the team has been putting out throughout the season. In men's basketball, it feels relatively widely accepted that the NBA has most of the best men's players in the world, Noah Lyles aside. And if for no other reason than the NBA, it definitely pays better than most alternatives at almost every pay scale, right? The WNBA is a different league with respect to how much players are paid relative to their international competition. And they have different league revenue. Obviously, players union is in a different place right now, and they also have a hard salary cap in the WNBA, unlike the NBA. Although the second apron is starting to become a little bit of that. Um, where pay in the WNBA, I was looking at a couple of charts on this, is actually quite similar to international women's basketball leagues. And I wanted to bring this up with Leonie Fiebich because, of course, the Liberty signed her from overseas. She's German, but I believe she was playing for maybe it was a Belgian league. Um, what do you think about where the WNBA is in terms of both the perception of having the best players in the world and actually having them?
I mean, I think because of how good the top talent is in the W, how l- few amount of teams there are at the current moment with expansion, how many few spots there are roster
Mm.
wise. I think that you can make that argument. Do they have every great player in the W? No, there's some great ones. Like I don't. How many people know? Leonie Fiebich was all EuroLeague first team.
Oh,
But I
that's
think,
awesome.
but
The
I think,
Liberty knew apparently.
but I think there's a balance there where if you are like the best are here, it's like it's so condensed and hard to play. You look at the draft, how many players get drafted and they just don't make the team. Like it's just difficult to make it in the W. So I would understand calling it where the best are at, but it doesn't mean that there are not talented players outside. Like Emma Mieseman, very good in the W, very good outside of the W. Didn't want to play. Showcase how good she is again at the Olympics. These things happen.
Yeah, actually, I had a note about this earlier with Gabby Williams. So she was drafted into the WNBA, but I think she had missed like most of the last two seasons because of some rule with the French Federation where they had to have her for training camp. But we talked about this last week with Lucas Kaplan, how obviously the Olympics comes in the middle of the WNBA season, as opposed to the NBA where it's an off season timed thing. So she wasn't playing. But then after the Olympics are over, she signs a deal with the Seattle Storm and comes over. Now she's starting in the playoffs. And I'm like, oh, that's so strange that not that anyone would make that decision because part of it is like, oh, I could just play overseas and make basically the same money. Whereas I don't know that, if the Olympics came in the middle of the NBA season, I don't know if you'd have NBA players that were explicitly sitting out an entire year, um, uh, in order to fulfill the rules of their national team's training camp policy to go maybe play overseas, just because of that pay differential that doesn't exist between the WNBA and their overseas counterparts. Obviously, their Team USA women's basketball team, total juggernaut, similar to the men's team. So I just wanted to shout that out. I'm really excited for the Liberty Aces round two. Is there anything that you would like the viewers to pay attention to in that matchup that we haven't already discussed?
Do we have the Sabrina clips actually? It was just this little hesitation right here is really key for her. So when she makes quick decisions and she reads the defense, it's a different player. But when she kind of goes into like a pre-animation on these drives, it's where
Hmm.
she can get in trouble. So if she takes her time and gets to the second level and now sees that she can turn the corner, that's when she really pops in those pick and rolls.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's toggling between the pull up and the drive that gets tricky. Okay. Sorry.
Oh, that
That
was a
point
good
was in my
pass.
brain.
No, that was good. That was good. I
My bad.
realized in putting these notes together that we were talking a lot about some really impressive guard play on all of these teams between Kelsey Plum, Chelsea Gray, Sabrina, obviously Caitlin Clark, although we have some things that maybe need some cleaning up from her and team wide, as well as Marina Mabry off the bench for the Connecticut Sun. Um, Definitely. Would you say that the WNBA is as much a guards league as it feels like the NBA is?
Ooh, I can't get all the way there because of
Okay.
how much talent they have with bigs
Mhm.
and how like they're growing with versatility. Like the way that Asia Wilson and Brianna Stewart and even Alyssa Thomas, Lee Boston, NECA. I mean, they can hurt you in so many different ways. They can be used in so many different ways. You still need that size element, like Nafisa Collier being able to score in different ways, post up, attack, be used in inverted pick and roll. It's still a bigs league, but there's a lot of
Mhm.
great guard play, and you can start to see they're finding different ways to impact the game as well. And I think that combination is what makes it so fun to watch these days because it's so many players can do so many
The
different things,
YouTube
and offensively
analytics.
can be in
So,
so
if
many
you do
different
like
ways.
our content, please remember to subscribe, like, share, hit the notification bell, and always remember that winning is fun and losing sucks.